Several of our videos have shown us entering log data online into a PC-based logbook, and people have asked over the past year roughly, what is it we're using? How do we use it? And is it easy to use? So I thought I'd tell you the story of our ship's log program. This program, let me open it while I'm talking here. So this program actually started about 35 years ago, maybe less, maybe 30 years ago. Our kids were young, and we just purchased a sailboat. And what frustrated me was trying to find some way of entering log data that I could come back and find again. Mainly, I didn't want to have to recreate the wheel every time I went in and, wrote a log entry. Also, my handwriting is terrible, almost illegible. So it just wasn't feasible that I'd be able to handwrite all these log entries. So one of my kids decided that they'd be kind to me, and they built this program. We ended up with what we call ship's log software, and we've been using this now for almost 30 years. It actually became functional about 28 years ago, in '96. So here's one of our first log entries that you see, and you'll notice the date is 1996. And you'll also notice we only had a little over 17 hours on the engine. So this is the very beginning of this software. This is how a log entry is done. We'll give you kind of a sample here. If we go into, before you even get there, this trip manager includes passengers, waypoints, and a general log, maintenance log, radio log, and fuel log. It doesn't have to, and each of these logs can stand on their own, but typically we will have a trip manager, and that will include passengers, waypoints, and any logs that might be associated with that trip. So here's an example. If I go into trip manager, I can say I want a new log, and you'll notice it gives me a blank page. This trip manager, put a name in here, and I think I'll just call it sample. And you can have comments. What I usually use are things like what's the weather like, the wind, is it sunny, is it warm, is it cold? Are we with a buddy boat? Do we have any specific plans for this trip? And they all go in this trip comments field. You'll notice this automatically gives you the date and time. We can enter the engine hours both for the departure and arrival. We typically, I just happened to throw that in there earlier, we typically will have the same marina that we leave from and the same marina we come back to, because we like to come back and keep our boat in the same slip every time we come back from a trip. So this is how you enter this information. As far as who's on the trip with you, give you an example. We click passenger, and if we say add passenger, here you'll notice you've got, let's make it Jane and John Aardvark. I like that. Add that to the trip, and bingo, there they are. Also, let me go back to where we add a passenger. If you add a passenger, we'll cancel that. You'll notice that the passenger, here's Jane Aardvark as an example. You've got a lot of general information. Let's start at the beginning. There's general information, different experience, certifications, qualifications, things like that, contact information, any medical or dietary needs, and then emergency contact information. And this is available for all passengers. We just don't use it. Occasionally, we have some people that go sailing with us that we do in fact want to maintain some information about, primarily for medicines and whatnot that they may be taking, dietary restrictions. So we've got a passenger. Then you can enter a waypoint. Now, if you go add a waypoint, if you've been to a waypoint, it's remembered, and it's of course in this listing. By the way, one of our, well, let's see, what's a good one? Oh yeah, Susha. Echo Bay on Susha. Great waypoint. You can also go ahead and create a new waypoint. And when you create this waypoint, it allows you also to enter some additional information. Now in our case, we'll just say add to trip, and it's automatically added to the trip. You'll notice we haven't added any information. This is just kind of a how-to. Then you also have log entries. So during the trip, as an example, I like to do a log pretty much every evening. So in the evening after dinner, maybe I'll sit in the cockpit and enter log information. You can simply add a log, key in whatever information you have. You can also go out here and you can add media. So if there are specific photos relative to this trip or that day, you can add it. The other logs are very similar. You can go back and, let's say you want to add a maintenance log. Here's where you add a maintenance log. Or a fuel log, and here's your fuel log. This is kind of interesting too, because as you burn fuel, it tells you how many gallons per hour you're burning. And you can add, radio log. So all of these are kind of self-explanatory, and this is how we use it. I'm going to go ahead and remove this one because I don't really need a blank log there. And then we'll go ahead and close this. When you remove a trip, anything associated with it is also removed. Other than passengers, you'll find the passengers are still out there. One of the features we use is a print function, although we rarely use it. You can, of course, print any existing reports. You can also print blank log pages, but again, they're rarely used. I'll show you a couple of samples as an example of a general log. Here's an example of the log. This is just a sample of a general log that we printed out. And here's a blank log. And as you can see, the same data elements or fields that are accessible in the general log, of course, are available in the paper version. The last couple of features that I thought I'd show is we have specifications, and you'll notice the specifications includes the boat, the owner, the engines, the tankage, and the insurance. And all of this information, of course, is convenient to have, but it doesn't change so frequently, so it's just there for reference. Much like the nav rules, they're there for reference. So the search function in ship's log is very powerful. I think this is basically the primary reason that I like this program so much. You can come in and you can search basically by any logs. You can find basically anything you need to find, and it kind of allows you to do things. Give you an example. Let's say I want to go into general log. I remember we saw doll porpoises. So if I type in the word doll, I should actually be able to find some doll porpoises here. Let me see. So I can actually just open this one. Oh yeah, and here it is. Reading through here, we actually had crossing Harrow Strait, more than half a dozen doll porpoises frolicked in front of the boat. So there's things like this that you can come in and find. And of course, you've also got the option of, you've got drop downs. You can look at log authors, trip associations. You can come in as an example under trip logs. Let's say you want to see who's been on the trip, who's been on the boat and when and where did we go. You can just open passenger lists and whatnot. So there are quite a few ways of using the search engine. And again, it's fairly powerful. There's actually nothing you can't find using that search engine. And in a way, if you open a log and you go in and click the search button, it actually opens that search for you. You can also, you've got a quick list, which makes it real easy to find stuff. We can come down here as an example and just, randomly look for something that we are interested in. I can come down here and, I don't know, just find something that, what I have. Just, here's one at random. So here's the selected log I've just opened. And, of course, I also can come in. I can come in and look in more detail. This is a repair we did, raw water vented loop. So this is how you'd find it. Really easy to kind of come across stuff like this using that search. You also have, let me see if I can find here's an example, another example. Let's come in and find something we did with the, like an oil change or something. See what we've got here. Must have been, oh yeah, we always change it in the fall. So here's an oil change right here. If we go in, go ahead, we can also double click any of these things to open it. Let's say as an example you wanted to find, oops. Let's find another oil change in here somewhere. Here's an oil change from a few years back. And you'll notice that we've got, like engine oil was used, 4 quarts of oil. You can also actually, this automatically increments or decrements the inventory count. So if you look at this oil, you'll notice that the oil shows what we have on hand, etc. We can actually also come in here and open the inventory record itself. And you'll notice the inventory record, you can come in and look at acquisitions specifically within the inventory. And here you'll see this is an acquisition record. It allows you to find out what you're spending on things. Unfortunately, what we tend to see is with inflation, over the years we've watched the price of everything increase. But even so, it's a real quick and easy way to look at what we've got going on out there. And again, the fact that the inventory log and the maintenance log are integrated really helps a lot. A lot of people were surprised to hear that we've been using this almost 30 years. But I guess, old habits die hard. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful, and hope to see some of you out in the water. Bye-bye.